to know we have Benjamin Gerritz on the board of the Oregon Fair Trade Campaign and community activist. And he's coming. And you can sign his board later. Please. He's got space in front, so I really want you to sign his board.
Don't touch the button, just really speak right, almost like you're kissing it.
Yeah, just put your mouth on it.
So boy, it's amazing to see how many people showed up here today. This is truly the beauty of our democracy in action, fighting to uphold it. Fighting to uphold our democracy from being slaughtered by these so-called free trade agreements seeking to undermine what we, the people, are entitled to decide is negotiated on our behalf. And what is the TPP? So we've heard a lot about it being sold as this so-called free trade agreement. But the TPP is little more than a policy that leads to complete exploitation of resources and, even worse, expenses people's lives for the mere sake of maximizing profits. And I'm here to speak about how global health, access to affordable medications would be impacted by this agreement. The intellectual property provisions that are in the Trans-Pacific Partnership highlight that what is at the heart of the TPP is a ploy by pharmaceutical companies to cut off access to affordable medications, to slap patents onto surgical procedures and medical devices that keep medications that save millions of lives out of the reach of individuals who need them. No! Individuals who are often impoverished because of the other components of these agreements that perpetuate poverty and inequality.
Shame!
Now, I was greatly impressed when President Obama in 2012 in the State of the Union called on all nations to usher in an AIDS-free generation. I was equally incredibly dismayed and disappointed in last Tuesday's State of the Union when the President called on Congress to grant him fast-track trade promotion authority to swiftly pass the TPP. The TPP is in direct opposition to the 2012 speech calling on all nations to usher in an AIDS-free generation. And the reasons why are because of what was mentioned earlier, the TPP instating the investor-state privilege and this notion of evergreening of a patent. So I'll speak, I guess, about NAFTA and what NAFTA has meant for access to medications in North America and the investor-state privilege that encompasses the countries that signed on to that agreement, Canada, United States, and Mexico. Right now, the Canadian government is being sued by the corporation Eli Lilly for a lawsuit measuring $500 million.
Shame!
This is because Eli Lilly has stated that 2 of its medications that it produces, of which the patent has expired on such, are entitled to be evergreen, and that they can keep the price of medication at whatever they so choose to set it under the terms of NAFTA. That the Canadians' democratic laws, their sovereign government, doesn't have the right to offer generic medications to its population, even though the patent has expired.
Crazy.
Evergreening is essentially a loophole that pharmaceutical companies take advantage of to extend out patents beyond the expiration of the patent for making a simple minor adjustment to the medication, even though that adjustment often shows no additional therapeutic benefit of the medicine. An example in the United States here is a common medication called Cymbalta, often used to treat depression. Eli Lilly also manufactures this medication, and it brings in about $4 billion in annual sales for Eli Lilly. Well, the patent on Cymbalta was supposed to have expired over the summer in July. And Cymbalta initially was manufactured for treatment of depression for patients who were adults, approved by the FDA. Of course, Eli Lilly didn't want to lose its cash cow, so it funded a study and said, well, maybe Cymbalta could actually be taken by pediatric and adolescent patients who are also managing depression. And in funding that study, they essentially applied with the FDA to extend out the patent on Cymbalta, now saying that because it's been recently approved for treatment of depression in adolescents and pediatric patients, that they're entitled to keep the overly inflated price, thus never allowing for generic manufacturing and keeping it out of reach of the millions who could benefit.
Boycott Eli Lilly. Boycott.
This is of great impact to that notion of ushering in an AIDS-free generation. There's been huge success that's happened in increasing access to medications for people living with HIV/AIDS, primarily in developing countries. This medication that I hold here in my hand, this pill, is the pill that I take for treating my HIV. It costs me $60 a pill, $2,000 a month. Now, I'm pretty fortunate. I have insurance which offsets the cost, so I'm able to access this pill. But the thing that is awful is that all of us end up paying the overly inflated cost through skyrocketing increases in our insurance premiums. What the TPP would seek to do is say to a country like Vietnam, your citizens are also going to be expected to pay $60 a pill. The basic premise is that in Vietnam, the average income is $125 US a year. Just as my annual salary would be insufficient for me to be able to afford this life-saving medication, the price of $60 a pill when you're making $125 a year, it's pretty inevitable what one could anticipate the outcome would be. Essentially, I would be dead. I would be dead for the mere sake of a company seeking to maximize profits and not concerned about people's lives. So when we think about the TPP, only 4 of the 29 articles in the Trans-Pacific Partnership have to deal with trade issues. The other 25 articles highlight exactly what this agreement is. It's a ploy to instate a corporatocracy over democracy and expenses everything from the environment to workers to people's lives, regardless the cost. And I thank you so much for being out here today to fight back, to win back our democracy.
No more